Hi, everybody. Welcome to this Future Finance Talk, which is a series of in-depth conversations with CEOs and innovators who are shaping the next generation of financial technology, accounting, and digital transformation. Each episode explores how cutting-edge technology, ideas, and leaders are redefining the way businesses manage their finances, data, and growth in a digital age, which really comes back to our mission as a business, which ultimately is to help the economy. But the way we do that is by empowering smarter finance. And hopefully, if we're providing smarter finance, that will unlock better decision making, which will fuel growth and profitability, protecting people's jobs, ecosystems, and supply chains. And I'm absolutely delighted to welcome co-founder of Vinyl, Jordan Vickery, with me today on today's Future Finance Talk. Hi, Jordan.
Thanks for having me on, Dan. Good to be here, mate.
Good. Thanks so much for your time, Jordan. Jordan, just for people that don't know, what is Vinyl? What have you guys been up to? And how is it helping your customers?
Yeah, so Vinyl is an AI meeting assistant built exclusively for accounting and bookkeeping firms. So the listeners might be familiar with other AI note-taking tools that exist out there. They're built natively into things like Teams and Zoom. There's also some other standalone providers out there that work with a variety of businesses, but Vinyl has been built exclusively for accounting and bookkeeping practices. And the reason why we've done that is because the way that accountants and bookkeepers have meetings with their clients and what they need to do with those meetings afterwards is fundamentally different to how other businesses manage that. So Vinyl works simply by joining meetings online, or you can record meetings on your phone for in-person meetings. It captures all of the audio and video, creates a full word for word transcript. So instead of relying on kind of notes where you're only capturing 5% of the detail, you're capturing every single word that somebody says. We then run that through an AI model through the lens of this is an accountant having a conversation with their client, which then pulls out all the key discussion points, all the key actions and next steps, and then syncs that through to practice management platforms such as Carbon, FYI, and Zero Practice Manager, ultimately so that nothing gets missed and things don't fall through the cracks.
Amazing. And how long have you been running the business for, Jordan?
So Vinyl was an idea back in November of last year. So we're actually coming up to our 12-month anniversary. So it was a kind of an idea back in November last year. We started building it in January of this year. We launched the beta in April of this year. We moved from beta to general availability in August of this year after about 450 firms globally came and trialed and tested Vinyl and provided us with feedback. And then, yeah, we've been, I guess, officially in market since 18th of August of this year.
And how many firms are you working with now?
Several hundred firms globally.
Wow, nice. And yeah, globally, so all different parts of the world. Where's your kind of core markets?
Primarily the UK, Australia, and the US and Canada. They're the kind of typical regions. Vinyl as a product can actually support multiple languages. So any accounting firm in any country in the world could potentially use Vinyl. But right now we're kind of focused on the regions where our core practice management integrations are based, which is the ones that I mentioned earlier.
Okay, cool. And you mentioned that Vinyl is specifically for accounting and bookkeeping firms,
Yeah.
as opposed to a more generic note-taking tool like the Fathom and Fireflies. And what are some of the other benefits that, because you're an exclusive tool for accountants and bookkeepers, what are some of the benefits that you guys have over some of the others?
Well, I mean, the kind of main one right now that is adding the most value to our customers is just the integrations into the rest of their practice stack. Because the biggest challenge people have with using generalist tools is that the notes are there, but nobody uses them and they kind of sit in a silo that nobody has access to. So people are using these tools, they're recording their meetings, and then they're doing nothing with it. So it's kind of pointless. Whereas with Vinyl, the first thing that we did was integrate the notes to where they need to be, which is practice management platforms. So the notes then live on the client timelines, they live on the client records, they live where the work and the jobs are, so that when the team members of these firms are going in to do the work, they've got that full meeting context in one place. They don't have to go and ask the partner, they don't have to go and find information. It's already there for them. So that's one way. Another way is that within Vinyl itself, we built almost like a light CRM so that all of the meetings are automatically categorized and organized against client and contact records, which is kind of very similar to how accountants manage their clients, whereas other note takers either have no structure or really basic folder structure that isn't that helpful. Another big one is how we're training our AI to analyze the meetings. So we're constantly training it and reprompting it to analyze it through the lens of an accountant or advisor having a conversation with their client. And what that typically means is that instead of it pulling out all of the small talk that happens in meetings, like where did you go on holiday, how are the kids, what did you do at the weekend, that stuff just gets in the way of notes. So we strip all of that stuff out and we just focus on the kind of like meat and bones of the conversation. Like, what are the key points that were discussed between you and the business owner in the meeting that are going to be helpful to know afterwards? And then we're also training on key terms and terminology that are relevant for accountants as well, so that it can be as accurate as possible.
Amazing. And what's like, since you guys launched, have there been any like big surprises when launching the business? Anything that's come up that's, yeah, taking you by surprise, I suppose?
Yeah, I think one of the, I guess, pleasant surprises was just how many accountants are still doing a large volume of meetings in person, which ultimately drove the decision making behind us building the mobile app when we did. So obviously, when we launched Vinyl, primarily it was recording meetings online through Zoom, Teams, and Google Meet. And we very quickly found out that there's so many firms out there that are actually wanting to meet their clients face to face, either inviting them into their offices or actually going out visiting them on site. So that was great to know. And off the back of that, we were able to build the mobile app, which now allows them to actually go out there and record those meetings and capture them just the same way that you would online. So that was quite a nice learning and insight. And obviously, we were then able to deliver something on that.
Good. Well, that's really nice to hear that there's still people out there who want to meet face to face the old traditional way, and it's
Yeah.
fed with building relationships and that kind of things. That's really great to hear. I'm guessing you guys are coming across a vast amount of people and accountants that are not using any form of AI note taker. Is that still the case, or does everybody have it as standard now? Like,
No, the majority of people aren't using anything. I think there's a small bubble of people in the community that have been using different AI note-taking tools for a while, or even testing and trialing different ones. You find that some firms, especially Microsoft firms, will have the kind of Teams note-taking built in because it comes as part of the Microsoft Teams subscription, but it's so basic and so limited and ultimately not very useful that when you speak to these firms, they're getting little to no value from it. So even though there's something there, it's actually not helping them at all in their day to day. So I think for the most part, most firms are using nothing, which means there's a huge opportunity to actually start using something, because I think one of the best things any business owner can do, not just an accounting firm today, is start recording every single meeting that you have, because it's not just a case of recording the meetings, it's what you can do with the meetings and the transcripts afterwards that's, becomes really, really powerful.
give me some insight into that. What are some of the stuff that people are doing?
Oh, there's so much. So if you think about like the different types of meetings that you have, like sales meetings, meetings with clients, meetings with team members, could be meetings with investors, whatever it might be. And then think about all of the things that you discuss in those meetings and share in those meetings, whether you say it or the client says it. And then think about what you can turn that into. So, one example would be if you're regularly doing sales meetings, you can then analyze those transcripts and pull out all of the frequently asked questions that prospects are asking you. You're going to get the same questions over and over again. I get that when I'm demoing Vinyl. And then you can use that to update your sales presentation, or you can use it to update your website or your marketing material, so that then you answer those questions before they come up. Another example would be with team members, where if you're a remote business and you've got junior team members that are now stepping into the role of having conversations with clients and running meetings with clients, you want to be able to provide feedback to them, but you might not be present in the meeting. So if you can capture the meeting transcripts and the recording, you can then analyze that through a prompt to help them to understand where they can improve and almost give them a bit of a score on how well the meeting was run. Another example, similar one, I was actually speaking to a customer of ours in the UK, the CEO of a really large accounting firm, and he's recently been doing almost like employee development and action plans with each of his team members. And he mentioned that he'd used Vinyl to record 30 plus of these meetings, and then use the Ask Vinyl functionality within the product to basically analyze each meeting and provide each employee with their own tailored action plan, as well as a table scoring them against different criteria that they measure them against. And he said that this saved a huge amount of time, but also think about the value that then adds to the team members. So there's so many opportunities here. I could go on for days, mate.
Have you got any kind of like any other case studies working with accountants, like wins that you can share with us?
Yeah, another example was one of the accounting firms here in the UK, who they do a lot of R&D work for clients. And I might not get the specifics of this right, so forgive me, but as part of the R&D process, you basically have to have a long conversation with a client to understand what their business does, the technology they're using, how they're investing in this technology and the research and development and all that good stuff. And you have to then take all this information and complete this really lengthy HMRC form with different boxes to basically say, this is what they're doing, this is what they're building, and this is the technology, et cetera, et cetera. And basically what he did is he got a copy of that form from HMRC. He got the recording that he'd had with the client in Vinyl. put it into Ask File, and basically said, write the answers for each of the questions in this form. And normally this form would take him like, half a day to a day to complete. And it took him minutes. Yeah, to get a first draft ready. So there's such considerable time savings when you start to think about all the different use cases and applications of actually having a meeting transcript and what you can do with it afterwards.
I think in a world that is going to be run by large language models, you'd be mad not to start with recording your own talks, own meetings, and your team's meetings and transcripts, and building that into what eventually might be your own large language model. And I just every business should be using it, really. And what are you doubling down on as a business, Jordan? Like, what are the kind of key things that you're really kind of doubling down on as a business?
Well, I guess a couple of things. So one of the big things that we're looking at is just post-meeting automations in general. So like, how do we make it so that when the meeting finishes, your work is almost finished as well? You don't have a list of things you have to do afterwards. So the note taking is one of those things. Adding the notes to the practice management system is another. At the moment, we're working on drafting personalized follow-up emails that you can then send to the client within minutes of the meeting ending. So instead of them getting this really impersonal, long automated email from a note-taking system to say, here's the meeting recording and here are the 30 things we discussed, how do we draft something that's more personal in your voice, kind of outlining what you discussed and what the next steps are? So that's one of them. The kind of next version of that is like, how do we automatically trigger or create work in practice management systems, or even other apps that are related to that? So one example here could be, how do we take a prospect meeting in Vinyl and then automatically create a proposal in something like Socket or Ignition based on the data that somebody shared within that meeting? Similar for AML checks. How do you take the transcript from something in Vinyl and then pre-populate an AML check in something like Xamarin or ThermCheck? So there's so many downstream opportunities in that post-meeting automation piece that I think are going to be really interesting to explore. I think the other thing is then, how do we automatically generate insights for accounting firms based on things being discussed in meetings? So imagine if you're an accounting firm and you're the partner or the director, and you log into Vinyl, and there's a dashboard, and on that dashboard are a few widgets, and one of the widget basically says, last week we identified 3 potential sales opportunities in meetings with clients, and we did that by listening out for keywords for things like funding or cash flow forecasting or whatever it might be. Or how do we have a widget that automatically services opportunities where clients are unhappy because we've analyzed the sentiment of the meeting, or we've picked up on something where the client said they're not happy with a certain team member? Like, how do we flag these things before they become issues? So I think there's this huge opportunity where Vinyl now becomes this almost like relationships ledger of an accounting firm, where we can just surface all of these insights and opportunities automatically to people, so that then they can go and make decisions and take actions and do all of these things.
Yeah, wow, John, that sounds really, really exciting. Congrats on the first 12 months of the business and the super growth that you guys have had so far. Really looking forward to
Thank you.
journey close up. Super exciting. But thanks so much for your time, showing what you guys are working on, and speak to you soon.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Cheers, mate.